This isn't a report. It's pure, honest opinion from a diehard NFL fan who's watched the Miami Dolphins spiral for far too long. And honestly, it feels like Stephen Ross just doesn't care about Dolphins football anymore. Because if he did care about what's happening on that field, Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier would not still have their jobs after the disaster that unfolded in Week 6. Their continued presence is nothing short of an embarrassment for this organization, and it's testing the patience of every single Dolphins fan out there. For more than 25 years, this franchise has lived in a cycle of dysfunction, heartbreak, and flat-out incompetence. Fans are exhausted. Some are even ready to give up, and who could blame them? The promise of change always fades back into the same frustrating routine. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. We'll keep bringing you raw, real NFL talk from the heart. Back to the point. Until Stephen Ross makes the tough call and removes McDaniel from the head coach position and Grier from the GM chair, nothing will change in Miami. The same old story will keep repeating, and the fan base will continue to drift away. When the firings eventually come, because let's be real, they will come, we'll be here to break it all down the moment it happens. Most fans already agree. One, if not both, have to go. Earlier this week, Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and said he doesn't expect any head coach changes in the NFL soon, mentioning McDaniel, Aaron Glenn, and Brian Callahan. That statement didn't age well, because just a couple of hours later, the Tennessee Titans fired their own head coach, Brian Callahan. Here's the kicker. The Titans have the same record as Miami, 1-5. Their season's been just as ugly, maybe worse. Yet they took action. Meanwhile, the Dolphins keep dragging their feet. And that right there proves my point. When other franchises take bold steps to fix their problems, Miami stands still. That's not what a team driven by passion and pride does. And until Stephen Ross finally steps up, Dolphins fans will keep living the same painful story year after year. You know, I think back to when the Titans made that wild run of front office and coaching changes, firing Mike Vrabel after already cycling through John Robinson, Ran Carthon, and Brian Callahan. It's been chaos in Tennessee, a constant merry-go-round of fire the GM, fire the coach, hire a new one, repeat. Now, I get it. No team wants to fall into that kind of instability. The Dolphins definitely don't want to look like the Titans. But here's the difference. Tennessee recognized that the people in charge weren't getting it done. They acted fast. They didn't sit back and pretend everything was fine. They made tough calls for the future. Meanwhile, in Miami, we've seen the same leadership for years, and the results haven't changed. Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier have proven time and time again that they're not the duo to lead this team to a Super Bowl. McDaniel's decisions have been questionable at best, and Grier's track record since 2016 speaks for itself. So why are they still here? The only answer that makes sense: Stephen Ross doesn't truly care about what happens on the field. He's satisfied that the Dolphins stay somewhat competitive and profitable. But if his priority was winning championships, both McDaniel and Grier would already be gone. Even NFL insiders are echoing this frustration. Ian Rappaport mentioned that it would take a significant change inside the organization for Ross to fire McDaniel. Sure, they have a close relationship. Sure, Ross wants it to work. But at what point does loyalty turn into denial? Is Ross really this blind to what's happening? Can't he see that this team lacks leadership, identity, and consistency? Every single week, the Dolphins find a new way to lose. That's not bad luck, that's bad coaching. And Chris Grier? His missteps have piled up for nearly a decade. Every fan feels it. Every Sunday feels like another reminder that accountability doesn't exist in this franchise. So I'll say it again, loud and clear. As long as Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier are employed, it's proof that Stephen Ross doesn't care about winning. If you agree, drop your thoughts down in the comments. Let's make our voices heard. Because at the end of the day, real fans deserve better. And it's time for ownership to start acting like they care as much as the people who bleed aqua and orange. If Dolphins fans can build enough momentum, on YouTube, on social media, everywhere, maybe, just maybe, Stephen Ross will finally listen. Because let's be real, this team needs a full reset from top to bottom. We talked about it on Monday's show. Every successful franchise has stability and competence at the three most important positions: head coach, general manager, and quarterback. You need all three working in sync. Miami, they've got the exact opposite. You can't keep one and fire the others. You can't move on from McDaniel and Grier, but keep Tua long-term. You can't fire McDaniel and Tua and let Grier keep his job. And you definitely can't get rid of Grier and Tua, but hold on to McDaniel. That's not how you rebuild a winner. This team needs a complete sweep. Start fresh with a new GM, a new head coach, and a shared vision for what this offense and this quarterback situation should look like moving forward. It's the only way to fix what's broken. And when you actually look at the coaching side of things, the problems become even more obvious and, honestly, embarrassing. Just think back to the third quarter against the Chargers this past Sunday. The Dolphins went into halftime up 13-9. Not bad, considering they missed a long field goal and turned the ball over early, yet still managed to control the game. Then came the second half, and it was a complete meltdown. Miami came out flat, unprepared, and lifeless. In one quarter, they were outgained by 166 yards and outscored 14-0. They controlled the football for barely 3 minutes. That's not just bad. That's one of the worst quarters of football we've ever seen from this team. And who does that fall on? Mike McDaniel. Week after week, the Dolphins look unprepared coming out of halftime. They start strong, then crumble when it matters most. That's a direct reflection of coaching. Even back in Week 1 against the Colts, Miami came out flat again. And yes, the Colts have proven to be a much better team than expected, possibly a real AFC contender. But that doesn't excuse Miami's lack of fire, focus, and execution. Through 6 games, the Dolphins are statistically one of the worst second-half teams in the entire NFL. Coming into Week 6, they were sitting at a minus 31-point differential after halftime. Now, it's even worse, minus 37. That's not bad luck. That's a lack of attention to detail, preparation, and leadership, and it all starts at the top. Every week, you can literally see opposing coaches outsmarting Mike McDaniel in real time. They adjust, he doesn't. It's like watching the same movie over and over, knowing exactly how it ends. And it's exhausting. Now, I want to make one thing clear. I don't think Stephen Ross is a bad owner, at least not in every way. He's willing to spend money. The Dolphins have top-tier facilities, the best recovery equipment, world-class locker rooms, and great food setups. He treats players well and makes Miami an attractive place to play. In that sense, Ross does care. But here's the problem. His loyalty blinds him. He's loyal to people who have repeatedly failed him. Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. And while I can somewhat understand why Ross might give McDaniel the benefit of the doubt, after all, he's brought the team to back-to-back playoff appearances. The results still don't justify this level of patience. McDaniel's teams haven't won when it matters. They start strong, fade down the stretch, and look lost in big moments. 2 playoff trips, 0 playoff wins. That's not progress. That's purgatory. But what really baffles fans is Ross's loyalty to Chris Grier. 10 years as general manager. A full decade. And what does he have to show for it? No division titles, no deep playoff runs, no championship culture. Just a rotating door of coaches, a few flashy signings, and the same heartbreak every January. Ross is doing everything right off the field, but until he makes the right decisions on it, this organization will never escape mediocrity. His unwillingness to let go of Grier and McDaniel isn't a show of stability, it's a sign of denial. And that denial is the biggest thing holding the Miami Dolphins back from becoming a true contender. Let's talk facts. Under Chris Grier's leadership, over 10 long seasons, the Miami Dolphins are 76-78. That's not even a winning football team. In that span, they've made the playoffs just 3 times in 10 years, and never once have they won a playoff game. Think about that. A full decade, and not one meaningful postseason victory. During that time, Grier has gone through 3 different head coaches, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, and now Mike McDaniel. And through all that turnover, the results have barely changed. I went back and looked at every draft from 2016 to 2024. Out of 62 total picks, only 21 can reasonably be called successful, and that's being generous. For a general manager who's been in control for a decade, that's a brutal hit rate. He's survived 2 coaching firings, outlasted every era of false hope, and somehow still has job security. It makes no sense. Now, I get it. No owner wants to be labeled trigger-happy. You don't want your franchise to become a revolving door of head coaches like what we've seen in Carolina under David Tepper, where instability scared off good candidates. That fear is real, but that's not the case here. This isn't impatience, it's complacency. Chris Grier has had 10 years. Mike McDaniel has had 4, and the team has gotten worse every season under his watch. Yet nothing changes. Why? Because Stephen Ross seems content as long as the money keeps rolling in. The stadium's full. The merchandise is selling. The brand looks strong. The national media keeps talking about Miami. But the product on the field? It's failing. That's the truth Ross refuses to face. Success in the NFL isn't about ticket sales or TV segments. It's about winning. And right now, the Dolphins simply aren't built to win. Even after the Titans fired their head coach, proving that other organizations aren't afraid to make bold moves, Miami stayed quiet. Adam Schefter's "no head coach firings coming soon" take was already outdated within hours, but still, nothing from Miami. Mike McDaniel has been rumored as the top candidate to be fired all season long. NFL insiders like Benjamin Albright have said the same thing. Ross probably won't do it. Not now, not mid-season. And that's exactly the problem. Complacency. The dysfunction in Miami has reached an all-time high, and Stephen Ross continues to sit back and watch it happen. How long can a fan base be asked to stay loyal when the owner refuses to demand accountability? And I just don't understand how Stephen Ross can sit back and watch this disaster unfold. Mike McDaniel spoke to the Dolphins media today, responding to Tua's comments from yesterday. And if you missed it, Tua publicly called out his own locker room, saying some players have been showing up late to team meetings, whether in person or online. McDaniel tried to address it yesterday right after the game, but he hadn't even heard the full quote yet. Now that he's seen what Tua said, his response was basically that a franchise quarterback shouldn't have said that publicly, and that it was just a misrepresentation of player-led film sessions. But come on, how can you listen to these two week after week and not realize how disconnected everything sounds? The head coach and quarterback aren't even on the same page. It's chaos. Ross, if you're somehow hearing this, listen carefully. No one is questioning whether Chris Grier or Mike McDaniel are good people. They might be, but they're not good at their jobs. And it's one thing to be struggling and still have order inside the building, but it's another to lose and have the entire organization turn into a circus. And that's exactly what the Miami Dolphins have become, a circus. The entire NFL is laughing. Media, coaches, players, front office executives, everyone's watching what's happening in Miami and asking, how did it get this bad? You've got your quarterback calling out teammates. You've got your head coach contradicting him the next day. You've got zero accountability and zero direction. It's embarrassing. Ross, this is your moment to prove that you actually care. Fire them now. Don't wait. Don't sit back and pretend everything's fine. Show the fan base you won't allow this team to keep sinking deeper into chaos. Now, is it likely to happen this week? Probably not. McDaniel spoke to the media on Monday, and teams don't let coaches do that if they're about to be fired before Sunday. If a move is coming, it'll happen right after a game or during the bye week. But even that level of delay just shows how dysfunctional things have gotten. Ross, you've spent money. You've invested in the roster, the facilities, the stadium, all great things. But none of that matters if the team on the field keeps falling apart. Prove you care. Prove you're not going to stand by and watch this franchise sink into complete chaos. Right now, the Miami Dolphins are collapsing, and if nothing changes soon, they'll hit rock bottom.